Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Welcome to the Community Conversation. This is a program where we learn from our past and present, and whilst we move and make decisions for our future. In these conversations, we explore and have conversations with individuals of our community, their achievements, their struggles, their courage, and their unhappiness at times, but in all these cases we learn from these conversations. Today we have a very well motivated and inspirational figure from our community. He's well known in our community. He is a quintessential azadar of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Together with a group of young people of the community, they went on to move the message of Imam Hussein beyond the four walls of our center and make it universal under a globally successful project, who is Hussein. He is Dr. Mohammed Khaki. Not only he was a first responder to the fire in Grenfell, but zeal for inclusivity led him to serve all human beings in need in Bosnia, in Calais, in Lesbos, in Tanzania, and India, and Rohingya refugee crisis, helping to create a fellowship in refugee medicine that has trained 99 doctors across 36 NGOs. For his selfless service across human communities, Mohammed received the British Citizen Award and BCA Medal of Honors. Welcome, Dr. Mohammed Khaki, to Community Conversation.
Thank you so much.
Now, I know that I only knew you as a Gujarati student in 2018.
And not a good Gujarati student either.
How about you came? And the important thing was that you managed to see your patients and came, although late sometimes,
Yeah, sure.
and gave a very good excuse as well. But I didn't know that you had such a background. I mean, I have only related some of it, but I understand that there are, beyond your GP protocol, you also have a media medical protocol as well.
Sure.
As well as international aid that you help out with, the charity, and you are of course a founding member of one of the international charity, which we'll obviously cover in our conversation. But with all this, how do you manage to sort of work through your GP portfolio and all these other things that you are involved with? What is the formula?
I don't know if there's a formula. I think you're just, you've just got to work hard in understand your parameters, be organized, have a good team around you. I think it's so easy sometimes, and especially in conversations like this, to focus on one person. And I would say that everything that we've achieved so far, or everything that you see or have listed, is really a team effort. It's the incredible effort of people coming together with a common purpose. May that be in the fields of Rohingya, trying to work hard, trying to serve the refugees, or be that here in London when we started Who's Hussein, and a team of volunteers who wanted to change the world, to create a movement that can serve humanity, that came together, that worked together, that lent upon each other to form something greater.
Right. So, I mean, I just want to know what makes you tick. Because it's important for, I think, the audience to know, when you sort of get involved with projects like this, particularly the charity project, and of course serving humanity generally, as you do you look at the positivity in a human being and then move forward, or do you feel that this work is good and I just want to do it, or do you see that there is a positivity in a human society that should be enhanced, and then you become a change? Then is that how you see it?
It's a combination of all of this in some ways. I think it starts with empathy. It starts with understanding. You know, ultimately the truth is that I'm born here, somebody else was born there, but was it not for the fate, was it not for God's decision, I could have been born there and they would be born here. And I would hope that somebody over here who's in a position of ability would say, I'm going to sacrifice something of myself to help someone who is in a difficulty, who is in challenge, who can't change their own circumstances, and support them. And I think that's where it starts, you know, that need to help someone who could easily have been us. And of course, the tenets of our faith discuss this a lot. You know, one of the great things about our faith is it talks about becoming close to God, about becoming God conscious. But much of that, in my opinion, is about serving other people. You serve God by serving other people. And I think in many ways, that's the secret to our faith. If you look at all of the leaders we have, you look at the Prophet's example, you look at all of the leaders after him, what you'll see is that their unique ability was to serve everyone, to give time to everyone, to always have a lending ear to support their fellow brother or sister, some money to give in charity, or most of the time their own efforts and energy to help out. And I think if those are examples of people who've done really great things and teach us, then I think this is the example we should be following.
No, that's it's a good answer, but what I want to know, I mean, I want to sort of tease it out from you, that, I mean, when you went to Bosnia, did you go to Bosnia or Calais?
Yeah, we went there, yeah.
And Lesbos, yeah? So you actually went physically there.
Sure.
So when you decided to go there, what did you have in mind that, look, I'm going to do this and that, and I expect this sort of positivity from, so you are more inclined towards the human positivity? Is that how you...
We're talking about Hussein, and Hussein ibn Ali, you know, he has this amazing saying. He says, give to other people. He said, the greatest of you are the ones who give to people with no hope of return. You're not looking for anything in return.
Right.
So when you go to help out in these places, you're not looking for them to be happy with you. You're not looking for them to say thank you. And you're not also looking for yourself to feel great, I did something good. That's not the point of it. If that's the thing, look, those things can start, and of course sometimes they can feed their way in, but the truth is that the beauty of these things is not trying to get anything in return. It's doing it because it's a good thing, it's something you should do, and it's something we need to all come together and do.
So, Mohammed, what are you doing at the moment? What sort of charity are you involved? Apart from, of course, who is Hussein?
Sure. Oh, well, at the moment we have a few commitments. We're looking at a few bits out of the UK, of course, in terms of managing the work we can do. The transition in the work I've done over the last 10 years is so much that I've learned a lot. So when you start, you go in the field and you're full of energy and gusto and you want to do something great, and you go to Iraq and you go with a bunch of medications, you drive around the village and you give people medication and they're so happy and you've helped them. And then you go home and you think, after 1 month, those medications are finished. And then what happens to those people?
Absolutely.
So the next step we did in that journey, for example, was we created a polyclinic, which was able to serve widows and orphans, was able to provide dental service, but also have some microfinance and self-sustainability to help the local people who wanted a job to serve, but also be funded, so the whole thing works really well without us needing to be there. Fast forward to the Rohingya, which was probably the most recent before the pandemic, we created this fellowship to train doctors. So the new concept and the model that works really well for sustainability is trying to create processes, upskill, uptrain, so that we don't have to be a resource that is relied upon. We can now hand that over and it can run without you.
Right, so you are constantly consolidating and looking at sustainability of the projects that you started.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think that's a wonderful way forward. Mohammed, are you married?
Yes, yeah.
And children?
Yes, we have one. Alhamdulillah, thank you.
Okay. You have time for your wife.
Well, I think this is the other reason we're not traveling so much, because we've got this amazing child who is...
No, but it's not. It's always a blessed thing.
Yes, yeah.
To have a wife and a child.
Yeah. No sleep, but just those two. Yeah.
Okay, Mohammed, I want to go on to your childhood now. Where were you born?
I was born in London.
London.
Yeah.
Schooling?
All in North London, everything's
all
been
in North London.
Yes, yeah. If I go outside of North London, I get nosebleeds. So.
Right. So as you were growing up, how much sort of influential role your parents played in what you eventually did?
I would say they...
So first of all, let me introduce. Your father is a well-known figure in the community, Qamruddin Khaki, yes?
Sure. Yes, yeah.
Al-Hajj Qamruddin Khaki,
Yes,
and
yeah.
of course, Mum?
Mum is Zinat Khaki.
Zinat Khaki.
Yes.
From
yeah.
which family?
Zinat Dinani. So she's
Dinani
a
family.
Yes.
So you have a Khaki Dinani family.
Background, yeah.
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 So yeah.
I mean, I've been very lucky in the sense that, you know, as you said, we've had this amazing daughter recently, and one thing that I've realised is that children don't do what you tell them to do. They do what they see you doing.
All right.
If I tell Zahra to do something, she will just. But if I do it, then she says, "Wow, I'll do this as well." And I think what the relevance of that to me was that I saw my parents behaving in ways that taught me so much more. Not only, of course, they guided me through their words and advice, but they lived the messages. And that was the most powerful thing. I think when you have, I mean, I'm very, very blessed, if I'm honest, because both of my parents have shown me the greatest thing you can do is serve people through their actions. My father would regularly do things that he may not even want people to know. He would, you know, for example, he'd be on his Hajj trips and he would go and find someone their medication that they lost and go to the chemist and buy it and help them. He would serve them for hours on end. He would go at night. He was the kind of person who you would just see him doing so many great things. And he would also bring you this humility. So we would travel together and he would say, "Look at that person." And I'd say, "Okay." He'd say, "Look, that person's middle-aged and look what they're working in. They're a cleaner. Look how lucky you are to be where you are." And then he'd go and talk to them. He would spend time with them. He'd have a cup of tea and you're thinking, this is the strangest holiday I've been on. We're talking to, but it's this sort of direct access of example that makes it so powerful.
I'm going to put you on the spot. Is there any intimate time with your dad or mum that you felt that this was something that I'm going to remember for a long period of time?
I think my father and I have always travelled together and done relief work together. So
Right.
we would go and take Hajj groups, and he would be he would be one of the medical team, and then I eventually ended up helping and leading that group. And he if I'm honest, he taught me everything, because he's the old school pharmacist. He knows medicine better than we know medicine. So he would say, "This is how you do things. This is what you do. This is how you look after. This is the pack. This is for." So I learned a lot of early relief medicine from him. Before I followed up and did a diploma in this thing. So, I consolidated, but he really set that. And those moments I can close my eyes, I can see us in the clinic building things.
Did you ever need the supporting shoulder of your dad anytime you felt down? And was there a time like, needed a lap of your mom?
Of course. So my mum.
This was during childhood.
Well, my mum has this. My mum and I have this amazing narrative where we would do very strange things. We would stay up till very late, talking about stories of those inspiring leaders we talked about, talking about how our faith can help us, talking about how we can help and improve the world. But also, my mum would always say, "This is your duty. You have to go and do this."
So
And
this has been a quite a powerful influence.
it's a huge influence.
Others.
Yeah. It's a huge influence. I mean, even right now, if you called my mother and said to her, "I'm stuck in Heathrow Airport. I know your son. He just mentioned you might be able to help." She said, "Okay, I'll be there in 20 minutes."
Right.
She's that sort of person. So when I see those examples, you realize that there's an amazing ability to serve, and then you should take that on. And of course, when we were at the onset of Who is Hussein, there were moments when it was quite challenging, especially in the launch period. And I would lean on both of them.
Parents.
Yeah, and say to them, "Well, this is the kind of stuff that's going on. What do you think?" Mostly, at that time, my father I'd say to him, because he was in leadership positions, and he would give me some very powerful advice. This is something. This is good. This is how to keep people motivated. This is what you can do.
His own experience.
His own experience. And actually, there was points where you almost thought, "Oh, can we do it? It's a huge undertaking."
Right.
And he gave me strength. He gave me those words of solace and advice that propelled us and propelled me to sort of take on that role. And I think that was hugely influential.
Okay, I want to also come to your extended family. You had a grandfather. Obviously, he was very prominent in the community.
Yes.
How much influence he had in your life?
Well, he has a huge influence, of course, because he is a beautiful role model for us and the family, the whole extended family. We still look up to him as the patriarch of our family, but also the community. And I think when you hear stories of his youth and the way he acted, and but even until his sort of towards the end of his life, he would still be energetic, be active. How can we help? He'd be talking about doing service, and it was amazing. And then he would tell us about his father, who had some similarities. And actually, I've been very blessed because my mother's family, father, mother, her sister, they also were very big servants in Tanzania Dar es Salaam of the community, and did a lot of charity work. And my maternal grandfather was the mayor of the town, and he would do these amazing things when there was flood. You know, these stories that you feel like it's a legacy you have to continue as well.
Sure,
not pressure,
no.
but a sort of this is something that is part of our family. This is serving other people is what we do.
That's right, and it became part of a culture actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, tell me about community then. In that case, how did the community shape you?
Well, the community,
our own Khoja Shia Ishnashi community.
Yeah, I think the community has been a huge shaper, of course, from day one. You've got to remember that the tenets of our faith is what keeps the community alive.
Right.
And the tenets of our faith is about helping each other. It's about community cohesion. It's about support. It's about faith as well, of course. It's about spirituality, but also it's about service. You'll see at the end of a program a clamour from all the people you sat down, a clamour to run to the corner just a little bit behind me to get a cup of a kettle or some food and try and give everyone a cup of. Now, where would you see that before? You will see volunteers who come in 2 hours before the program to help set up cones, park, and then leave an hour and a half, 2 hours afterwards. You'll see people, in fact, there are people you won't see. You go to the basement, you'll see the people who've been cooking for hours on end, serving everybody with you don't see their face. And this is the beauty of the community. There are service that's going on which is faceless, and it says, look, you can help everyone with humility and without taking the ego, and it's beautiful. That's an amazing thing, isn't it?
There's a huge history behind our community, 160 years of history.
I've got your book. Yeah, I'm working through it.
I hope you read it.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah,
because it does talk about your family as well in the southern part of Tanzania. Have you been to Lindi, Tunduru?
I've still not had the opportunity to go to Lindi. No, that's where my daddy man's buried actually.
That's
so
right,
we have to visit.
One day you should go. And
yeah,
I think it's. When you read the book, there are two historical norms that and you have explained it in a vivid way just now. Okay, Mohammed, I want to now come to the sense of Imperial College. Now, that's where you studied you did your undergraduate study.
Yes.
It appears that you're quite heavily linked with Imperial College. You are in the governing council?
Yeah. Yes.
So what do you do there then?
I think Imperial College University is probably one of the most remarkable institutes and universities in the UK. I mean, it's consistently been named in the top 4 student experience, student outcomes, but also medicine is something it really excels in. And
at Imperial?
At Imperial, and it was the top for a number of years. And I think to have that affiliation is a fantastic thing. A lot of our community members have followed suit and have gone there and have also thrived and done really well. The university gives this amazing blend because you have this hive mind of determined, intelligent, entrepreneurial, multi-talented people, and they want to do something great. They want to serve humanity. So you get all these amazing initiatives that come out of it. And I still help. I still train the medical students. I still teach the junior doctors and interview for the medical school, and of course sit on this council and look at the wider issues affecting the university, how we can influence, how we can support. So it's a very prestigious institute, and it's really an honour to be affiliated with it still.
So all these awards that you got, talk to us about them. What does it mean to you? I mean, you had a British Citizen Award, and then you also have another award, and then you're recognized as one of the influential 100 people in NHS, as well as 50
GPs in the
GPs. So all these things, what does that mean to you?
I always think of individual recognitions as it's a nice thing. Of course, it's lovely
Sure.
to have it. I'll be honest with you, I don't really hold stock in these things, if I'm honest. You and I have been long in the game enough to know that it takes a team, it takes an effort, it's a community, it's so many people behind the scenes who are faceless and who may not be thanked. And actually they are part of this award. They are part of it, the contributors. So to be given an award is lovely, but actually I recognize that a lot of this is all the supporting team and everyone whose efforts are as much as mine. And these are awards that should be distributed amongst all of them. You know, bringing it all the way back to my wife and the little one, you know, she is also someone who comes with me on these trips and does work. She's a doctor, she's a GP. So
is she?
Yeah, she works with me in Rohingya. She's worked in Calais and Lesbos. We've worked together in Iraq. So, and of course she's had her recognitions as well. But the point I'm making is that that's the most easy, simple example of how it's easy for us to think of an individual award, but actually it's a team. And especially with an organization like Who's Hussein, we've got now, at one time we had 100 teams, we've whittled that down to 60 of the top teams across the world with, you know, tens of thousands of volunteers. You know, awards we receive in regard to that is the team, it's the global network, it's a family.
Mohammed, you are very humble, but in any case, you have to provide leadership, and I think that does come from you because you are recognized as one of the emerging leaders. Sure. By Imperial, I think. Yeah?
Yes, I mean, ultimately we try our best to work in a team.
Sure,
and to lead and to distribute. We have this fantastic ethos.
That's very important. I mean, giving a sense of ownership to all your colleagues who are working with you. That's extremely important, I think, to move any projects forward. I want to come to a very important project in your life, I think, which started in 2012.
Sure, yeah.
What inspired you to sort of begin this Who is Hussein project? Talk to us about it.
Yeah, I could talk to you forever. I'm worried about the timing.
You can take a bit of time, don't worry. We would like to know.
Of course, I think it was the coming together of a number of things. There was a couple of us together in an evening and we were just talking about the world, and we'd had some challenging experiences. I had seen a patient who was neglected. One of my colleagues there who was a teacher, he had seen some things in the classroom that hadn't been appropriate, and there was someone else who'd just been on the bus. You know, we were young, and he'd seen something. We thought, where is the inspiration to be better? Where is the inspiration to do the right thing instead of the easy thing? And of course, all of us had Hussein in our lives, and Hussein is that archetypal pivot, change maker, catalyst. This is the thing that separates Hussein ibn Ali from so many other leaders that exist. Because whilst he had the opportunity to do the easy thing, he chose the harder, right thing. And he made this ultimate, incredible sacrifice of his words, his life, his mission to uphold the greater good, to reinvigorate society, to wake up society and say, we don't have to go into nepotism, we don't have to go into things that hurt other people, we don't have to become morally degraded. We can help and support each other if we take the right path, even though it's the harder thing.
So did it all began as just a general discussion initially?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And then how did it sort of materialize into sort of we want to make it a global project?
Well, we knew that this inspiration is so powerful. It's something that we always draw upon when we're really struggling, when we're finding things tough. This source, Hussein ibn Ali, the way he lived, the way he gave his life, the way his morals, his mission, we said, wow, this is something we have, but we need to share this with other people. We can't be selfish and keep this to ourselves.
Well, share the personality of Imam Hussein al-Islam with others?
Both of them. So we realized two things. The first one is we have to share this personality, because when you read this this biography, you read the words and the speeches, you think, wow, I feel enthused, I can do something, I can make a difference in society. Because if someone who's almost aristocracy, you know, almost royalty in Arabian culture can give up everything for the greater good, what can I not do as somebody? I can pick up that rubbish and put it in the bin. That's okay for me. I can do my part. The other side was we realized that we had to ask people, well, who is Hussein? But really what we were asking was, who is Hussein today?
Right. That's
Not 1400 years ago. Who is Hussein now? Right. Who's going to be the ones who champion the downtrodden? Who's going to be the ones who stand up for those who have no one to stand up for and help and support them? And we realized to be that change, we had to be that change. We had to become the Husseins of today. So who is Hussein is really, who is Hussein today? Who are the Husseinis in Chicago, our team, who are helping the underprivileged by providing the backpacks? Or our team in Bangalore, who are arranging life-saving surgery for children who can't afford it, who have cardiac issues, going through massive lengths to do that. We have wonderful teams around the world living and breathing this message, right, even at this moment in time today. So I think that's the beauty of this message. And the truth is that when you have something so pure and so self-serving and selfless and something that really wants to serve the greater good, that message will grow and grow.
So following on from that very nice expression that you gave, who is Hussein today?
Sure.
Following on from there, I have a question for you. Do you feel that the message of Imam Hussein lacked a practical expression, and he was only confined to only the four walls of our Imambara, whereby we only viewed the martyrdom through the lens of grief and eulogy?
Sure.
Now, I'm not saying that, I mean, this is important, of course, but when you said who is Hussein today, meant that we should not confine this personality here. So were you looking for a practical expression to go beyond this?
Well, I think they come in hand. What I mean by that is, if you remember when I talked about going to the Rohingya or whatever it is, and I said you have to think about and empathize with these people who are suffering, what I'm saying is you have to have some emotion. Emotion is very important. It's a catalyst. What the story of
emotion then bring out the practical expression.
Well, of course, yeah, that's right. I mean, the point of the faith...
And not just to sort of confine to emotions only.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, there's many sayings about faith, and one of the key ones is that faith is not what we say in the tongue, it's how we act. And that's one of the most important things. And of course, the same kind of concept comes out here, where you will look at the example of Hussein, and you will... Anyone who reads that story, listens to the commemorations, they will be shaken. Their hearts will break, because they will say, what an incredible person, what a soft-hearted individual, what a terrible thing to happen to him and his family, what an amazing message. Now, you have that emotion, you have that feeling, what do I do with it? You can take it home, you can think about it, and of course, not everyone is in the position to change the world, and that's okay, or to do things. We have other duties, we have to look after our children, we have to look after our families, we have to look after, that's fine. But if you're somebody, if you're young and you're energetic, you haven't got commitments, or if you're in a position right now and you're listening to this and thinking, I have that passion, I have that fervor, I want to follow this amazing example that has taught me about selflessness, and I want to do something with that, well, that's the next step. Now we take it outside and we say, look, how can I help my community? How can I set up a food bank? How can I support those people? Even if it's something simple. You know, when we started, even in COVID, we came back full circle. We did something called the 40 Neighbor campaign, where we knew that restrictions around the world were really tough. People had different restrictions. What did we do? We created a card that said, we are your neighbor. We're here to support you. If you need anything, contact us.
Who is Hussein?
Under Who is Hussein. Okay. And our teams produced a little leaflet and gave it to people. Every neighbor, 40 neighbors either side, to get them that say, well, look, we're here. We might have restrictions in India because of how the lockdown is, or we might be having challenges wherever we are, and we know the rules are changing all the time, so it's not easy. But why don't we do this? At least I can support my community. So you don't have to change the world or do something extravagant, but you could help one or two people, and that is how the message of Hussein continues, because we live it in our actions.
Do you feel, again, arising from this, what you just said, do you feel that youths are more connected to the Who is Hussein movement than some of the azadari we do inside of our centers?
I think the truth is that that all of these forms are remembrances, and I never want to say that anyone is better than another. I think I still go back to my original point, which is emotion is the starting point. The truth is, with any project, you know, there were times with Who's Hussein where we met for the first 4 or 5 years every Thursday evening for 4 to 5 hours as one minimum per week. We normally met more than that. And outside of that, we were working 4 or 5 hours extra on top of our studies, our work, whatever it was. What was driving that? It wasn't logical thinking that, you know, I want to do this. It was emotional. I feel connected to supporting people. I feel connected to this project. So as a or remembrance or commemoration or poetry, all these kind of things that we do, they have an important place. They energize, they reinvigorate. The key question is for anybody who's in that commemoration, who's listening to those things, is what do I do with this energy now?
Exactly. Now, do you feel, now this is it, it's a very important point you're making here. Do you feel that there is more we need to do to connect ourselves to the personality of Imam Hussein?
Of course, I think we can always continue, and we always have so much to do to connect ourselves to inspiring figures like Hussein.
And are the youths doing it? Do you feel that we could do more?
I think the youths are phenomenal.
Fine.
And I think they hold the key to changing the world that we're going to be living in.
Absolutely right.
And I'm excited by what they have to offer. I've seen their efforts. I've seen in the middle of a lockdown, when we are struggling as a community and we're struggling as a globus, and we have so many other challenges, personally, family, looking after all these things, adjusting to new schedules, so many things, businesses, worries about the future. What did they do? They said, we're going to champion this. We're going to help everyone who needs it. We're going to set up a food drive. We're going to provide food for anybody who wants it. We're going to deliver it. We're going to automate it. We're going to get volunteers. The youth ran one of the slickest food distribution operations I have seen. And I think they demonstrate in those actions that they are living the message of service and helping other people, which is everything that we've been talking about.
So what you're saying is that when there's a project, a well-regarded project, youths will rise up to that.
Not only that, the youths initiated that project.
Yes, of course.
So they themselves, not only will they, not only if there is a project, they themselves are amazing. Their potential is huge, and they have an ability to create new ideas. Who's Hussein came from a group of youth. I hope somehow I'm still thought of as a youth, but you know, the point is that Hussein was its genesis was a bunch of youth, 16, 17-year-old students.
They became the change themselves.
Correct,
actually.
and now we have a new generation in that age category, who are also going to create some changes and make a big difference in society. And I believe they will.
Very important message that you're parting to the community. Absolutely, you know, very essential. Now, just another question, but this would be now. What about non-Muslims? You know, with Who is Hussein project, how is their reaction to your project? Because you've become a global. You've come in the media. Non-Muslims now. I understand that you had an interview with, not you, but someone else. Or was it you? I'm not sure. With the LBC chap, what's his name?
Sure, that was our current chair, Muntazir.
Yeah, was he? Yeah, I think it was a wonderful interview.
Sure,
I have to say that. What's the reaction? How are they perceiving this particular?
Yeah, I mean, so that was an interview with Muntazir and Sayeda, and they were talking about the blood donation campaign that we've just run. Now, of course, one of the things that Who's Hussein wants to do is make this global change and initiate and take up causes. Now, last year we had this amazing opportunity to break the world record of blood donation in one day and save, you know, hundreds of thousands of lives in the process. And that was the LBC interview we're talking about, amongst others. And
Michael O'Brien, wasn't it?
James O'Brien.
James O'Brien, yeah.
And one of the things that you'll find is that Who's Hussein is really not targeted towards people who know Hussein, because people who know Hussein, they commemorate, they listen to his tragedy, they already know about his inspiration and they are working towards taking that into their life. Our ethos is really to bring his message to people who are unaware of him. Okay. Because he is such a universal figure of hope, of compassion, of dignity. You know, when everything is dark in your life, Hussein can provide that lamp and that light. He can provide the guidance of how to be, but he can also provide that beautiful light that shows you where to go, that guides your path, that warms your path, that energizes you. And I think that's a lot of what we've been trying to do.
But do you feel that the movement, your movement, opens up the non-Muslim mind to what Imam Hussein stood for? Is that message sort of going to them as well?
Absolutely. I think what I've found is that, and from our research and the feedback we receive, is that the people who didn't know Hussein are saying, wow, this is an amazing figure. He is so inspiring. I love that he did this. I love that he did that. I can't believe he gave up so much. And also what they see is they say, well, not only do I find his stories and his maxims and his speeches inspirational, but who's saying the organization living that message shows me that he never died. He lives on.
Yeah, right.
And this is the thing we love, is that they say, I feel like I can contribute and I can be a Husseini type person by joining your activities, supporting your teams. And many of them will be at our London food drive on a Saturday night, in the cold, feeding the homeless, because they say, I want to do something.
Right, right.
I want to support.
Okay.
So it's really exciting. It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, I have another question again on the same topic.
Sure.
Do you feel that some of the non-Muslim may consider the movement as another aggressive propaganda or tabligh campaign to convert them to Muslims? Do you think that is?
I hope not. I mean, we're not interested in that.
No,
we don't want anybody to become. We have no interest in anyone becoming a Muslim. Changing their faith, doing anything like that. What we're trying to do is bring some inspiration to a world that is so darkened and gloomy and difficult right now.
Yeah, very nice.
And Hussein is that inspiration, because his world was dark and gloomy and he provided that light.
Sure, yeah.
And amazingly, 1400 years, despite that being such a long period of time, he is still a light of inspiration and energy for all of us. Why can we not bring that to today, to other people who don't have him? One of the things we talked about earlier, and I want to say, is that we keep this amazing figure to ourselves. That's unfair. That's unfair. If I want to be a charitable person, I want to go and help people, not only do I need to do that, but I want to help them with good advice. If I know something medical that will help someone, and they're a friend, and they say, oh, my knee, I say, you know what, do this. Same sort of ethos comes in here, where I will say, look, this is an amazing person. Look at him. Look at his example. This is something that helped me. It will help you.
Okay. Well, a couple of more things.
Sure.
Just statistics-wise, how successful has it been since inception? And in your case, has it been a very successful project?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's always hard to measure the metrics of success.
Right,
I mean, we've been very humble to have, I think, almost 1 million acts of kindness, acts of service that we've done. We've had, I think, over 500,000 people we've fed around the world who are impoverished. We've been able to save hundreds of thousands of lives through blood donation, and of course, our teams are working throughout the day, throughout the year to service their communities.
How many professional staff and volunteers assisting you now?
Our core team is about 12 to 14. Of that, we have, I think, at the moment, 5 or 6 staff in place. And what I love about us is that we try to even live that Hussein message in the work we do, because we're very scrupulous with the money we take. We say, well, how much time do you need and how much work do we need? And we don't take donations or anything to do anything other than the service, and we use absolutely frivolously so we can spend properly and not waste any money.
All right. Okay, our time is now coming to the end, but I have one important question for you. What would your advice be to anyone that wants to initiate a charitable or non-profit movement for the good of society generally? Sure.
Okay. What I would say is, if you're looking at the mechanisms and how to do it, and the kind of a framework, I have given a TED talk about this, so you can look at that.
Really?
Google it, and you'll see it.
It's in the YouTube?
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
Okay.
So you can look at it, and that will give you kind of a structure of steps you can take to start anything. I think the ethos of any organization is really important, and I think we start with, like we always do, is the intention.
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 Right.
that is the starting of everything. And of course, in our faith, we believe that's a very important part. In fact, you can have an intention to do something, but not have the means, and you'll be rewarded as if you did it, which is amazing.
Yeah.
That tells you how important intention is. So intention is really important for whatever project you want to do. I think when we came together as Hussein, we said something very strange and probably a bit unique, which is, we said, we're not going to have names on this.
Okay.
We're not going to tell anyone who we are. I remember my mum said to me once, she said, oh, this is really good. Have you seen this project? You should do something because these guys are doing some really great stuff. And I was leading the team, and I didn't tell her it was me because it was not about the names.
Right.
It was about the ethos.
Your mum didn't know?
No, she didn't know. She thought we were just meeting as.
Okay.
And so, what I'm trying to say is that if you take out ego, and if you take out that, because this is not how you form a good team.
Right.
And if you work with a real intention and know why you're doing it, you'll be very successful. Then all you need is the same people on the same team. I think one of the biggest blessings for Hussein and our team is I had the privilege and honor of meeting some of the purest souls I'd worked with and continue to work with, who work with a pure intention to serve humanity, with no sense of ego, no sense of I. Even now as trustees, we had a meeting a couple of weeks ago discussing how we maintain this value system as we grow even bigger, because it's such an important thing. So I think that is one of the key things. Make sure there's no ego, look at your intention, and then of course come together as youth and then look at that TED Talk, and it will tell you about kind of bits and bobs of how to start, what to do, how to form the ethos, but those are really, really important starting points.
I think that's a wonderful, wonderful message to whoever wants to begin a project afresh.
Sure.
For the benefit of the society. And one thing I learned, how inclusive you are beyond the community, but bringing in others as well towards this particular project. And it shows the humanitarian aspect of Islam as well.
Sure.
Thank you very much,
thank you so much,
Mohammed. And it was so nice, inspirational, and I learned a lot as well.
No, me too as well, thank you.
All right, thank you for listening to our conversation. I'm sure the journey Dr. Mohammed Khaki has undertaken makes us think that one man or few individuals can achieve so much for humanity if there is faith and determination to succeed. More importantly, his inclusive ways of working show Islam in its pristine universal spirit that is so eloquently weaved with the personality of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, whose mission is to fight injustice, reverberates across all human communities. Until next time, I wish you all well, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and keep you under His rahmah. Ameen.